Welcome to a country in political crisis. In some countries that means bombs and bullets, but not in Belgium. Europe's superpowers have battled in this country for centuries, so Belgians have no taste for that. This is the town of Stavelot, home to French-speaking Walloons.
Attention, je ferme. Voilà. On va te coiffer. Attends.
Julianne Thomas, her mother Joanna and her father Jarno are part of something their town has been doing for more than 1,000 years.
Voilà. Vas-y.
Back in the 7th century, the town's monks were banned from taking part in this festival. So they disguised themselves in costumes like these and delighted in mocking the local nobility. The weapons, though, are not for the squeamish. They're inflated pig's bladders.
Je crois que ceux qui veulent vraiment séparer la flore de Wallonie ne viennent pas ici et je pense pas qu'ils ont compris grand-chose à la Belgique. Ce qui est dommage, c'est qu'on parle seulement de quelques personnes qui veulent séparer la Belgique, mais on ne parle pas des milliers de personnes qui, eux, veulent garder la Belgique unie.
The parade can't hide the fact that this is one of Western Europe's poorest regions. Unemployment here is double what it is in the Flemish north, and the public sector here soaks up twice as much of the federal budget. This region now needs a nation more than ever.
This is the rich cultural history of a people who for a long time ran this country. Even though they're now far more likely to be poor and unemployed, they still know how to have a really good time. And for some reason they love hitting people on the head with a pig's bladder, and I can't even see what I'm doing.
So much for the French-speaking half of the country. Now let's venture into the Flemish north. That's the Dutch-speaking region, which some would like to be the independent nation of Flanders. In the town of St. Nicholas, they know how to enjoy themselves. As the nation's politicians try to find a power-sharing formula, they'll have to factor in the views of people like Peter Bijsrogge of the Flemish separatist party, the N-VA.
Wallonië en Vlaanderen op twee snelheden leven. Het zijn twee totaal verschillende landen. Eigenlijk zijn het landen, het zijn wel deelstaten, maar het zijn twee verschillende landen met twee verschillende culturen.
Do you see any point to Belgium itself? I mean, do you have a Belgian identity?
Persoonlijk, nee.
For centuries, the Flemish were ruled by the Spaniards, the French, the Austrians and the Dutch. It's only in the last few decades that they feel they've broken free of the Walloons.
Oh, that's good. Wow, yeah.
Peter is the acceptable political face of the push for independence, but sometimes the front can slip.
So you don't have any friends who are French speakers?
Not a lot, no, but I mentioned, ik begon erover in het begin van ons interview, waar dat ik zei van dat wij kennen niets van de Franse media, zij kennen niks van hier. We leven als twee gescheiden landen. In de geesten zijn we eigenlijk alle twee zijn we al gescheiden.
Vas-y vite parce qu'on est à l'antenne et c'est... Bonsoir à tous, l'heure est grave, excusez-nous pour cette interruption, événement exceptionnel.
Belgians like practical jokes, and this one was jaw-dropping.
La Flandre va proclamer unilatéralement son indépendance.
A fake French-language news bulletin claiming their northern cousins in Flanders were putting up border fences and unilaterally declaring independence.
Des frontières que l'État flamand devrait...
It had reporters flying over the new dividing line, and the response was angry and electric.
Le public, dans un premier temps, a eu peur. Le public a réagi émotionnellement. Parce que donc ils voyaient devant leurs yeux ce que dans leur inconscient ils ont peur que ça se réalise.
It had people thinking they'd have to use passports to cross their own nation, and it also claimed a new Flemish parliament had secretly been built underground.
Et son équipe ont planché sur d'autres.
Par contre, ce qui est certain, c'est qu'au niveau francophone, les gens sont plus conscients du danger que ce pays, non pas nécessairement éclate, mais devienne une coquille vide.
The people who made the fake news bulletin work here at the French language broadcaster. It was a big surprise to their colleagues who broadcast in Flemish. They work here, just on the other side of this door. This whole building is cut in half. There are doors and corridors like this throughout. You have this rather bizarre situation. On this side of the line, you're speaking Flemish. Here, you're speaking French. Flemish, French. Why? Because the Belgians share so few cultural institutions that straddle that linguistic divide. But the people who want to keep this country together say this is proof of something that can and does work.
Belgium just doesn't have the institutions that most nations do. There's no national newspaper, no national political parties, there aren't even national charities, universities, and there's no national census. It's in the border area between Flanders and Wallonia that you can find some of the greatest concerns about the possibility of Belgium splitting apart. Take the case of the town of Holyard. It has a significant French-speaking community in a wedge of Flemish territory.
All the French-speaking people who have problems, they phone me, that's true.
For 15 years, Marie-Claire Guillard has been a local politician here.
Because I don't know...
She's unusual because she's nominally Flemish, but she speaks French, not Dutch, in her home.
Oh, this is the border?
Yes.
Under the bridge?
And on the other side is Rail.
So we're on the Flemish side, other side's French?
Yes.
She points out a restaurant forced out of business because they were French.
School of the State.
A school that refuses to accept French-speaking children. And a tennis club that demands all its coaches speak only Flemish. What she fears are local laws that stop French speakers from buying houses.
If first, before you come, you say, yes, if you don't know Flemish, you won't come here, I found it's a little racist.
So you think it is driven by racism?
Some people, not all of them, and perhaps it's 5% who are racist, and the rest is following because they don't dare say the country, and that's not good.
Miss België 2008 is Alize Pulicek.
Sometimes a celebrity scandal can tell you a lot. Late last year, the newly crowned Miss Belgium was pounced on by the media after she failed a simple test. She couldn't answer a question in Dutch.
Wie denk je over 10 jaar te zijn? Of wie hoop je te zijn?
Ik heb niet begrepen.
Laissez-lui le temps de répondre.
The boos from the audience have given this beauty queen a hard-edged lesson in Belgian public relations.
There were a lot of Miss Belgium.
Now she squeezes in as many references to matters Dutch as she can.
So, and to learn Dutch and to do a lot of things in the Dutch side of the country and with Dutch people and the party with Dutch people, and I have to do my best to try to speak Dutch. And
Miss Belgium has been put in the unusual place of somehow feeling responsible for some sort of elusive national reconciliation.
But I want to show that we can do things together and we can live together, and then there's no problem with this. We are different, okay, we have different cultures with different mentalities, but we can live together and do things together.
In the heart of the capital, Brussels, which is multicultural and international, you find what many consider to be political poison.
Pumpkin soup or carrots?
The Vlaams-Belang Flemish nationalists may be on the far right, but a whopping 20% of the nation last year voted for views like this, expressed by party chairman Bruno Valkeniers.
Belgium is indeed, in my opinion, it's an occupier, because basically it was created to dominate, to let the French culture dominate the Dutch culture. So in my opinion, it's an occupier.
Deemed racist by the courts and excluded from the federal negotiations, their stance is electoral honey. A tough line on immigrants and complete disdain for Belgium.
There is no common vision anymore. There's no common values, no common virtues anymore in Belgium.
Does that mean there's now no longer any meaning in being Belgian?
For us, there never was. And for more and more people today, there isn't indeed. That is correct.
Such thinking is the antithesis of the spirit embodied in the European Union. But it's the EU that has made the prospect of independence more viable, with a common currency and a bank, amongst other things. Against that, it's Brussels, the internationalised, officially bilingual city, that makes splitting the country that much more difficult.
La Belgique est un peu un laboratoire de ce que va être l'Europe demain. Est-ce que l'Europe va être une Europe vraiment politique? Est-ce qu'elle va demeurer simplement une zone de libre-échange économique? Est-ce qu'elle va être capable d'avoir un poids politique? Quelle Europe? L'Europe des régions, l'Europe des nations, l'Europe fédérale? Je pense que l'Europe sera un peu ce que la Belgique va devenir demain.
The atomium, a 100-metre-high version of an iron atom, was built in the 1950s when unity never seemed in doubt. In the end, there will be political compromise here, with even more power taken away from the federal government and given to the regions. No one knows if that will split the atom of national unity.
Perhaps they need a miracle. If so, they need only journey to the south of France, specifically to the miracle city of Lourdes. With Easter almost upon us, this is a time of reflection for the world's Christians. Jane Hutchin made a pilgrimage to Lourdes to meet the holy and the hopeful.
Some in the church say we're at the dusk of faith. The Pope has made it his mission to revive Catholicism throughout Europe. But while the church is worried, no such concerns exist here. In Lourdes, belief is booming. This is here because 150 years ago a young country girl claimed to have seen a series of visions. After years of investigation, the Catholic Church deemed those apparitions to be the Virgin Mary, and ever since then Lourdes has become one of Roman Catholicism's biggest attractions, second only to the Vatican. It's the anniversary of the event that put Lourdes on the map. Incredibly, 8 million pilgrims are expected this year. This is the grotto where the Virgin Mary is said to have appeared. Now it's a shrine. where the sick and the dying are especially welcomed. For some, it's an extremely emotional experience. In the town of Lourdes, you won't find skeptics, because pilgrims mean big business. Beyond the religious sanctuary, it's a Catholic Disneyland where blatant commercialism thrives. Pilgrims outnumber locals by 5 to 1. But tourism isn't the draw. The faithful believe Lourdes is filled with a deeply spiritual force. The power to cure body and soul.
What do you come here for?
Miraculous cure. I've got 3 children who are 2 with cystic fibrosis, and I've got him with Down syndrome.
Tom Doherty has been here more than 20 times. His son Johnny is 5 and suffers debilitating complications.
The cure is in the water and in the well. Not in Lourdes, but in the water and in the well.
You're convinced of that?
Oh yeah. Not 110%. Fully convinced.
Some believe the spring water is sacred. Others say prayers to the Virgin Mary can bring about a miracle cure.
I was diagnosed with cancer in my throat, and I was healed. My miraculous medal fell down that morning, and when they took the tumor out, there was no cancer. I mean, those are just testimonies of what Our Lady has been doing for me.
Lots of people come looking for, a miracle tend not for themselves as such, but for other people.
Father Martin Moran is a chaplain at Lourdes. He explains how 150 years ago, a local country girl who later became Saint Bernadette saw a series of apparitions while collecting firewood in a grotto.
Bernadette heard a rustle of a wind, and she felt something. And she looked up, and in the niche of the rock behind us here, she saw this figure of a woman dressed in white with a blue sash. The woman told her, "I am the Immaculate Conception." The church is extremely slow to verify something like that, because people, in this day and age with people seeing the face of Jesus on toast and pizzas and everything, so things like that have to be really, really verified, and she would have gone through quite a lot of scrutiny in order to have that verified, because both the church and the civil authorities were very sceptical of what she claimed to have seen.
For more than a century, pilgrims, particularly the sick, have flocked to Lourdes to venerate Mary, the Mother of Jesus. Many are convinced their prayers to the Virgin have been answered.
Every time that I return to Lourdes, I feel I'm walking in the footsteps of that little insignificant girl, and it makes me feel how insignificant I am. And it makes me feel, wow, this is magic.
In the 1980s, doctors pronounced Irishman Padder Clark incurable. His body and mind were riddled with multiple sclerosis, and he was given just 4 years to live. Brought to Lourdes as a very sick man, one night in June 1989, he says something incredible happened. The Virgin Mary appeared at the foot of a tiny crucifix in his hotel room.
Our Lady just smiled, kept on smiling at me. I remember I was smiling back, and at the same time there was that I was smiling. There was tears rolling down my face. But it was when my hands were out that I realised my hands are out and they're not shaking. And I realised I'm standing. No one was helping me to stand.
Do you believe that a miracle occurred?
Yes.
Undoubtedly.
Absolutely, I've no doubt whatsoever. Till the day I die, on my deathbed, I'll be saying the exact same thing.
4 years ago, a wheelchair-bound woman from the north of France came here on her 6th pilgrimage.
Si, je peux marcher, je peux me mettre debout, je peux...
Nadine is a devout Catholic who doesn't want her last name used. Over time, the muscles in her legs and back rapidly lost strength, so that by her late 40s, she could barely walk.
Voilà.
This is the first time she's revealed to any media her life-changing experience.
Bravo!
She says she was cured during prayers just days after the pilgrimage.
Très calmement, un très grand calme à l'intérieur de moi, et je n'ai rien ressenti de particulier, simplement une grande paix à l'intérieur de moi, un grand calme et un grand bonheur.
So, how quickly did you feel an improvement?
Immédiatement.
Nadine and Padre Clark are just 2 of thousands of devotees convinced they've been cured through their connection to Lourdes.
Il y a 100 ans, donc là, faut que je le pose parce qu'il est tellement fragile que...
Nadine's case is under investigation by the Lourdes Medical Bureau, headed by Dr. Patrick Tellier.
Moi, je découvre avec vous.
The Bureau has more than 7,000 claims in its archives. These particular records are from 1908.
Donc tout ça, c'était des gens qui ont guéri, qui sont venus. En 4 jours, il y avait 44 personnes qui sont venues.
That's amazing.
Ça a changé, hein?
Dr. Tellier says claims of miracle cures were far more prevalent 100 years ago than they are today.
Les gens qui guérissent ne se déclarent plus. Ils ont peur, soit de paraître illuminés, donc ça c'est une raison religieuse, disons, soit d'être obligés de faire des examens complémentaires et supplémentaires, ils n'ont pas envie, donc ça c'est une raison médicale.
"67 miracles, most of them involving nuns, have been validated by the Catholic Church. One of the most recent was Jean-Pierre Belly, who was declared cured of multiple sclerosis after visiting Lourdes in 1987. He died last year.
You said, happy are the poor.
The Church insists on a rigorous investigation of miraculous cures, which must be both immediate and permanent.
Through Our Lady.
Even among Catholics, the process has its critics.
I'm a skeptic about physical miracle cures. I don't think God is a conjuring artist. And I think there's always been within Catholicism, within religion, this other tendency to try and find proof. And it's partly to do with the kind of scientific enlightenment and the idea that we can't believe anything unless we can prove it. So this idea has taken hold and the Church has bought into it now.
Dr. Tellier is a devout Catholic and a respected physician.
Merci pour votre ouvrage que j'ai bien reçu.
Every day he opens letters from around the world, many detailing miracles both great and small.
Je me permets de vous écrire pour confirmer que j'ai été témoin de la guérison miraculeuse d'une jeune femme en 1961.
He denies Lourdes encourages pilgrims to hope for a miraculous cure.
Non. Du tout, elle n'a jamais été une usine de miracles, hein. Non. En aucune façon, hein. Elle n'a pas cherché le miracle. Ils sont arrivés, on les a reçus. On a tout fait d'ailleurs pour limiter et pour ne prendre que les choses sûres et certaines. Mais on n'a pas fait une industrie.
This is Irishman Padder Clark a year after his miracle cure at Lourdes. He now leads sick pilgrims there and has returned more than 50 times. After his cure, he and his wife had 2 children and life was good.
We did indeed.
But now he's developed chronic arthritis and can barely walk.
It's so severe. It's hard to take. But at the same time, you just say, You're all the time reminded of the way you were. And the way I was an excuse of a human being. And now I have a life. The little lady.
Padder Clark eventually pulled out of the validation process because he disliked the celebrity status that went with it.
As the years went on, it was becoming more of a, what would I say, a circus nearly. And I didn't want it. I just didn't want it.
So some people actually treated you as if you could perhaps fast track them to a miracle?
Absolutely. Like I would find, like, and I don't mean it in badness towards anyone, but they'd be touching you and, and, I have to rub off you and, it wasn't me. I felt that, say, regarding myself, people were coming with me to be with the miracle man.
You were called the miracle man?
Yeah, and I didn't like that. I like being part of a group, just being an ordinary Joe Soap, hidden in the corner. Leave me there. Let me do my own thing.
But millions of others come in search of a life-changing event, just like the one that changed Padder Clark's life. It's the force that keeps them coming.